Today's interview is brought to you by Macabre Marketing. If you're in the indie horror field, movies, authors, YouTubers, and podcasters, check out Macabre Marketing. They are amazing when it comes to press releases, interviews, social media management. They know how to put your name out there. And if you're in the indie horror, you definitely need that upper hand to help you stand out. So please check out Macabre Marketing and tell them that the Horror Room sent you. Hello everyone, welcome to the Horror Room. I'm Travis Bruce, and today we're doing another indie horror spotlight. Today I have with us, he is the co-producer and co-star of a new movie that's streaming on TV right now for free, and it's called Troubleshooters. I have Gorio with us today. Gorio, welcome to the Horror Room, my friend.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, sir. Thank you.
So tell my viewers a little bit, who haven't seen it yet, tell them a little bit about Troubleshooters.
Troubleshooters is a story about these home invasion robots, for different businesses and for I guess personal residents that run amok, and the troubleshooters are called in to pretty much either destroy the robots or get them under control of. That's their job for this particular episode. That's their job, to take care of these home invasion robots.
Now, it's an interesting movie. I've had the pleasure of watching it. To me, it definitely had like a little bit of a Men in Black inspiration too. And did you get any inspiration from the Men in Black films?
I won't really say that. I mean, most of our inspirations come from like the old Star Trek, older Star Trek, the first episodes of Star Trek in the early years. We like. I mean, don't get me wrong, Men in Black was great. I mean, because it was different from everything else that was out at the time. But I think most of the inspiration came from our interest in the old 60s and 70s space shows that were out back then. I mean, that's most of our inspiration. Yeah.
And the robots, I want to call them aliens, but the robots in this movie are well designed. Who designed the look of the robots?
Jeff did. I mean, he did, because he wanted it to be scary enough, to where there's almost a human element to it, but it's just enough to where when you see it, it's not a human being, but it's a robot, but it's still creepy enough for cinematic purposes. You don't want it to just be some little, some small mechanical thing. You want it to have human qualities to it, to where people go, oh, that's kind of creepy, so.
And Jeff, King Jeff is actually, he's the director as well as co-producer and co-star in the movie as well. He's your brother.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
So I do have siblings. How is it working with your brother?
Man, it's outstanding, because it shortens the dialogue a lot of times. You know what I mean, and he knows what I know what he means. You know what I'm saying? I mean, when you say things, you don't have to explain a lot of things in detail, because we from us watching a lot of shows and critiquing a lot of shows as kids, we have certain dialogue that what we might say to each other, that when we're filming something, we'll just reference that dialogue, and it'll cut a lot of time out, and then you can get right to the point. So I mean, it makes it a lot easier. It was actually the thing about it was 4 of us. I had 2 older brothers, both of them who passed away a couple of years back, and we were all into filmmaking as kids, children, as little kids, as teenagers, and as adults. So it was always fun working with all 4 of us working together. But me and Jeff now also, but we still try to keep the magic going, So.
And what I definitely enjoyed about this movie, it definitely gives a real feeling to especially the main character, your brother. You see him in a psychiatrist's office, and he's talking about the traumas and the stress with dealing with this job as being a troubleshooter. Was that something that you wanted to add in the movie, to add a human element to the characters?
Well, it just kind of gave you a take of what their day is like. You still have to do your job, But in the meantime, you still have some of the work-related things you have to do. You got to go see a psychiatrist. You got to, you still got to meet your quotas and all that kind of stuff. So it just gave it a more personal view. But in this case, he was just tired because he didn't get a chance to sleep because it was, because of the demands of the job. So, but it just added a personal human element because him and I, me and Jeff both, we've always had jobs where you were exhausted, but you still had to do the job the right way. Matter of fact, I'm still in that mode, so that's why I have these glasses on. I'm exhausted right now.
Trust me, brother, I feel you, man.
Yeah, I actually work 2 full-time jobs, believe it or not. So just
wow.
So you know. Yeah. So.
Yeah, I got a full-time job, plus I do this pretty much full-time. I mean, it definitely takes a physical demand. So I mean, I definitely related to that, watching that and care that. It's something that you don't see in a lot of sci-fi, horror, even
right. They don't give you the side story where, hey, this guy could have a headache today, or he could his day could be gone. You know what I'm saying? They never give you that side of it. Like I go to work I work surveillance at night, and I work at the post office in the daytime. And sometimes I go to work at night, I'm like, man, I have a headache, but I still gotta monitor the cameras and stuff that I do, So it's
keep on going. Yeah.
Yeah, I still gotta stay on top of it and still gotta do it the right way. They don't want to hear, oh man, his head was hurting. So
there's no slacking off.
Right, exactly. So,
yeah. So okay, so one of my favorite characters in the movie, I'm not giving away anything, but
all right, guys.
He's a I'm gonna say retired troubleshooter. His name is Willie.
Yeah, all right.
Now, have you guys thought about doing maybe a prequel or something?
I'm gonna tell you, man, we done read every angle of every where he would show his early days, right? Yeah, we thought about something like that. Yeah. But that was actually my dad, believe it or not. I mean, I don't know if you were able to see the result. Yeah, my dad was always the extra character in the movies. Whenever we needed somebody, he would fill in, man, step in, and he would soldier up for us. He would never, he'd never say, "No, I got this to do." But he was a kid. He was a kid just like us, So that's pretty much what between him and my mom. That's what we got our inspiration from for doing most of the movies, So
that's absolutely.
If you look at most of our movies in the past, he's always had a character in most of the films. So,
has your dad ever asked you for a lead role?
Oh no, he don't. No, nah, he don't really want to. He always want to play some guy that just pops in and and then gets out of there, and where he can say, "Oh, well, yeah, I was in that," But and my mom, she doesn't want to do. She doesn't. But we always have a picture of her up in the films most of the time, so she doesn't really like to be filmed or the pictures taken of her or anything, but we always have a picture of her in the background. And whenever she sees the film, she'll be shocked because she always see her picture. And it's like, so it's always fun just to stick a picture of her in there. So, yeah.
Now, Troubleshooters, was that shot in Louisiana, correct?
Yes. Louisiana. All of it was Louisiana and in Mississippi. Some of it was shot in Ocean Springs, Mississippi.
Now, is that tough to do? Because I've been to both states, and it gets hot as hell in the summers.
A lot of it was inside, but a lot of it was inside. And my dad lives, he lives on like a big 6 acres of property, so we do a lot of filming over by him. And I lived in Ocean Springs at one time, so some of it wasn't over in that area. So it wasn't that hot. During that time, I mean, like the inside scenes, you can control that environment, but the outside stuff, you just, sometimes you did it early in the morning or late in the evening, so that you didn't have to worry about sweating too bad, So
I used to have to go to Louisiana quite a bit for work a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
In the summer, man.
It's hot. Well, I'm a mailman in the daytime, so just to give you an idea, we don't have AC in those trucks, so yeah. So I mean, whatever what I was feeling on the film set is nothing compared to sitting in that post office truck.
Imagine that metal can, man. Jesus.
Yeah. I was prior military. Was in the Philippines for a while. It kind of reminded me of being in the Philippines because you get up to like 120 degrees out there some days. So yeah.
So you hinted at it. We will be seeing a possible sequel or spinoff of the Troubleshooters in the near
Oh,
future.
definitely. I mean, definitely. And we're always, between me and Jeff, we're always writing for like the other series who was doing the Murder Room, and for what new episodes. So there are episodes coming, another episode coming. Uh, we've been like waiting on some of the festivals to get some feedback from some of the festivals, which has been really positive. I mean, we've been getting some real positive feedback from the festivals that we entered. So we're just kind of waiting on things to pan out a little bit, but we have everything lined up. I mean, it's just a matter of just saying, hey, between the two jobs and the heat, try to see what we can get. but we have schedule, we have things lined up, and we're getting with some of our other actors just to make sure that they're on schedule during that time frame. So, you know.
Now, you guys are pumping out ideas, and you guys are pumping out projects constantly. Now, working a full-time job and having a normal life, how are you guys able to get these ideas out so quickly and these projects out?
What? It's a type of job. Jeff retired. He just retired, so he's got way more done. As a matter of fact, I'm kind of jealous of watching him not get up in the morning, and I'm kind of jealous of that. So I got to still go at hit the clock, but just it's usually the type of jobs where, for me, most of my jobs come with a lot of those jobs influence a lot of ideas. I mean, I've worked anywhere from prisons to casinos and jail. I mean, pretty much worked a lot of different places, and on all those places, I'm inspired by the things that happen, and they help to give you ideas for stories. I mean, this is amazing to me. That's because some of the ideas I have from stories, I think, man, that reminds me of 30 years ago when I worked at the prison, something like that, And so some of the ideas come from life experiences, not necessarily accurately from the life experience, but they inspire you, And then you have time, like when you're a mailman, you're driving all day, so you have time, like an idea hits you, or a song, like music. That's another thing that pops in your head while you're driving. You might think of a scene, and you might have a song for it, and that's, you have to jot it down right then while you're working. But there's always jobs where I can do that. It's never like where I'm in front of a microphone doing a podcast or anything like that constantly. But I feel a job where I'm isolated, and if an idea hits me, I can jot it down, and when I get home, I can type it up. So
That's amazing. Now, you and your brother grown up watching horror movies, sci-fi movies, action movies, and now look at you now. Like, is it like, holy shit, we're making movies, we're in movies? Do you guys ever think that? Does that ever hit you?
Well, think about it. We've been making movies since we were little kids. We did some films on Super 8 that
Wow.
I'm glad the world's never going to see them. But I mean, but we've been between the four of us, my two older brothers, we've been writing ideas, and they were in our earlier movies. So my brother, matter of fact, the series when my older brother Charlie, who passed recently, he was in the series Tales from the Murder Room. So I mean, and he was there. We always had inspired each other. I mean, we'll come up with an idea and bounce it off each other and run it between each other, and they say, man, that's a good idea, and each person would add to that storyline, to make it better. Sometimes you might come up with an ending, and somebody like I might bounce an ending or something off of Jeff, and then he'll say, man, how that would be good to kick it off. Then he'll give me that part, and then from that point on, it'll just write itself. I mean, it's just fun. I mean, when you have people who think similar, we think alike, but we're not pigeonholed into thinking the same thing all the time.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I mean, where sometimes you might see a story and you can pretty much figure out how it's going to end or what's going to happen in the middle. We have those ideas, but at the same time, sometimes we stay away from it if we can make it better in another way or something. But it's fun. It's a lot of fun though.
And that's something about watching your projects. So I've watched. it seems like you guys reinvent yourself with each film. And
Thank you, thank you. I appreciate you saying that, because we don't want to just be those are the guys that made this one type of movie. We always, because everything we do, we try to do different things, and that's pretty much that's right. That's a good way of looking at it. We reinvent ourselves, and like I said, we've been at this probably since the '80s. I mean, really, as far as coming up with ideas. Then early years, you didn't quite have the money to do films, and it was a whole different road to doing films. You had to have a film reel, and so everything was more expensive back then than it is now. So now you can ideas you can jot them down, and throughout the year we've bought our own equipment and everything we need to make films. I mean, so it's nothing for us to do them now. That's the good part about it. When you from working 2 jobs and killing yourself over the years, you accumulate enough finances to be able to buy your own equipment and do all your stuff yourself. So.
So what's some advice right now? I know there's a lot of individuals who are out there right now. I've interviewed several came across several who are thinking about making their first film, and they're just on the fence. What's one piece of advice that you could give them to start their journey?
Just start doing it. I mean, when you have that free time, draw it out, and you draw it out first. If you have to draw a little stick man or whatever to draw it out, but if it, you got to get into it. I know a lot of people who want to start projects, but they're waiting on something magical to happen, and a lot of times that magical thing doesn't happen. So sometimes you just have to get out there and start doing it. You might say, okay, we're going to do the first scene. Even if you have a scene where it's just you in that scene, get that scene out of the way first. That way you can kind of get inspired by some aspect of filming it. Because if you're sitting there thinking about it, it can overwhelm you if you're not a person who has good time management skills. Making a movie can actually be overwhelming, because then you have to edit it. But that's a good part about Jeff and I. We love stuff like editing and sitting there watching something come to life.
Really?
That's the thing. It becomes your baby after a while, because you start this thing, then you add sound, then you add music, then you slowly start seeing it come to life, and it becomes very addictive after a while. You start thinking, what can I do to make this thing better? That's the advice I always give people. A couple of friends of mine that did plays, they did some shorts. I was like, once you start, you'll see what I'm talking about. When you add that sound effect in there, or you add that music, then you start going, wow, this thing is actually taking on a little bit of a life form, So when you do that, when you start seeing that, it becomes addictive. But while it's in your head and you start thinking, oh, I got to hire a cameraman, and it seems more monotonous then. But once you start rolling, man, it becomes a whole different ball game, And that's my advice to them. I think just once you start it, if you just got to jump out there and start doing it, man, it becomes fun, So.
And I totally agree. I mean, even for me, anybody decide they want a YouTube channel. I was sitting around pondering for years about
right.
Finally, I just did it. And there's gonna be some mistakes. Your first couple of things are probably not gonna be that great, but once you start getting the hang of it, it becomes second, and you start enjoying it.
And for us, since we have our own equipment and stuff, and now you can get a nice phone camera and do most of the stuff you can do on some movie cameras. But even if you do something that first day, and the next day you might go, man, I could have made that better if I had done this. It's your project. Go back and reshoot it. That's the thing. But a lot of people, it's you just have to drop a lot of procrastination and just get out there and get at it. That's it. That's the main advice I have for them.
That's amazing. Now, learning from each project, because I see that you guys definitely, I want to say, evolve from each project. What's one thing, once you guys finish up Troubleshooters to your next project, what's one thing that you were like, that you learned that you were like, okay, it's a 2-part question. That went well. We're going to carry that over to our next project. And I like how that went. Let's not do that for the next project.
Well, I mean, as for us, with every project, being well rested before you do it, because when you take on as many jobs as Jeff and I, you don't want to miss anything. And we have missed a lot of things. At some we might go back and go, oh man, we didn't catch this, or we forgot to do that one part. But having your storyboard, having all your equipment, and just being well rested when you get out there, because if you're the person that's directing it, and like for us, we take on all the roles pretty much, as far as like the keeping up with what shots are being done, the sound, and you gotta be well rested to do that kind of stuff. You can't go out there like half tired, and because you can easily miss something and get all the way out to the shoot and say, "Oh man, I forgot the camera." You know what I'm saying? I mean, you'd be surprised the things that can happen when you're not well rested. So it's basically just trying to make sure you have all your ducks in a row. If you and it might seem ridiculous, but write everything down you're gonna need. When we go out there, we're gonna need the camera, we're gonna need this, we're gonna need some light, some backlight, and we're gonna need all kind of things but make sure you have a list, because me and Jeff and I, we go out, we're always saying, hey, you got the batteries, you got the battery charger, because if you got the batteries and you don't have the battery charger, then you have nothing, so, but you always got to stay ahead of it, because if not, you get all the way out on that shoot and go, man, we can't even do anything because we didn't bring the disc to capture everything. So so it's, like I said, that's the thing, just being well rested and try to be prepared, because if you don't, you can get out there and you might have 10 people on the shoot, and it just be like a 10 people gathering, because you won't be filming anything, so just make sure you have all your ducks lined up. So
how important is it to have the right crew working with you?
It's very important. I mean, because most of the people we work with, they and like I said, that's why I always say it's good to have a stress-free environment, because sometimes the people we work with work as ADs, not ADs, but like they work in it, fill in, and they might help us with the shoot, or they might hold a microphone, because they get so involved in it, and because once we show it back, like when we're filming, we'll run it back and let them see it, and then look like, and that's usually the thing that gets them addicted to it. They go, wow, that looks pretty good, So then the next shoot, if we didn't have anybody working the sound, they might have said, oh yeah, I'll jump in and then hold a microphone or something like that. Because a lot of times it's smaller shoots with us sometimes, but we've had scenes where we had bigger shoots where we had people, the right crew in there. But that's always that's what I really miss my older brothers, because we all had assignments when we filmed something, and it made it just flow. It makes for a stress-free, easy day, and everything just flowed well. So and they would be on that, like somebody might be on sound, somebody might be just watching and make sure nothing happened during the actual filming. And having people like that on the set, just it makes it a lot easier. So
I mean, I can imagine. I mean, even as a film watcher, I've heard stories of chaos on film sets and people are not liking each other and arguing and so forth, and it relates to the movie. Once you see the movie, you're like,
right, exactly, right,
and you hear that backstory behind why it's not a great movie. It's because there was shit going on behind the scenes.
Right. We don't have that, because we've had situations where a person wanted to bring their overprotective husband on us. I was like, hey, that's not what we do. We filming a movie. We're not, like we can't have somebody just being jealous for no reason on the set. What is that? This is a film, if that's the case, we can't just tell them to stay home. Nobody's trying to, just saying any type of thing. I mean, everybody got issues. I mean, we have stuff going on in our lives constantly, but for that moment, we try to put it aside, just because we know we're trying to do something fun, and we're trying to let everybody else have fun. And we don't want to bring everything down. So, but it's always a fun environment. Even the people that's there with us that might be going through something, they'll say, man, I had fun that day, man. It just kind of took me away from, some of the problems that I had for a minute, and I got to play, for a while. And I thought that's good. That's what we wanted you to do. We wanted you to relax and have a good day. So that's the main thing. It could be, like you said, it could be a lot of stuff going on, but we just got to try to make sure that it doesn't show on the screen. So.
All right, now, Gloria, this is a horror channel, so I'm going to ask a horror question. What is the first movie that you and your brothers would sit down, horror movie that you and your brothers would sit down and watch, and you guys loved, you watched over and over growing up as a kid?
Well, I could tell you one that they loved but scared the hell out of me because I was the youngest, was The Blob. I was scared of anything. I was scared of stepping on the tar after that on the ground. It was scary. Yeah, and I had older brothers, so they didn't make it any easier. So they went out of their way to make sure I was always in fear factor mode. So that was the movie for me, was The Blob. And just coming up. Because it wasn't like the werewolf or Frankenstein. It was just this piece of black tar. It was like, whoever thought that could be scary? You know what I'm saying? I'm thinking about myself, man, this ain't gonna be scary. It's just a piece of blessing that thing start growing and eating people, man. I was like, oh man, this is bad. I'm 5 years old, man. I should have watched this. But yeah, that was the first one for me, was The Blob, man. Like I said, as kids, we would all sit there, man, and add our own take to the movie, and then we did that doing that as teenagers, then as adults, So I love that. That kind of thing goes into our film. Some of the things we'll critique or talk about from films, it goes into our films from us growing up doing that over the years. And like I said, we weren't like mean critics, but we would always see things and point it out and then laugh about it, or that becomes part of your makeup after a while, how you do things.
That's amazing. So, Gordo, what's next? You guys got anything in the works?
We have a sequel to Troubleshooters, and we're working on some more Tales from the Murder Room, which is the other series that we're doing. We wrote a bunch of episodes on that, but during the pandemic and all this stuff going on, we stopped a lot of it just because of that. But during that time, you have more time to write, so you're not really wasting time, So if you can't film, you should be writing. If you're not writing, you could be filming. So, but that's next for us. We have a follow up movie for Troubleshooters, and like I said, also we're waiting on a couple of places that with the festivals that we had a lot of people wanting to work with us, so we're waiting to see how that pans out. And like I said, we're always open, man. We love sitting down and talking with people about things, and we love to work with people on other projects also, because we've done that in the past. And we have a couple of horror things lined up also that might we might get another interview from you down the road. Who knows, man? Yeah. So we already started that one. We like 3 episodes into it. It's like a multi-pack where it's like 5 or 6 episodes of these short, scary stories. So and we've got that rolling already.
Definitely look forward to that. Now, Gordon, how can my subscribers find you?
Jetty Film, JETI Films.com. JettyFilms.com is our website. It's up and running. They can contact us about that, and we're on Facebook. We have Jetty Films website Jetty Films site on Facebook as well. But JettyFilms.com is our website address, and we've been redoing it, and we're starting a blog on there also. We just kind of got it going again. So, but that's the main way to reach us, through the Jetty Film site.
Oreo, listen, you're more than welcome. Jeff is more than welcome to come on anytime to promote anything.
Man, I appreciate that, man, because normally people throw me out of places, man. So, No, I'm joking, man. I appreciate that, though. I'm sure Jeff does as well, man. So that that's great, man. It's good to be welcome, man. That's one thing. It's always good to be. Hey, I enjoyed it on from you too, man. You're very outstanding at what you do, man. I appreciate it.
I appreciate it, my friend. I appreciate it.
All right.
Everybody, please go on Tubi right now and check out Troubleshooters. Free. Check it out. It's a fun ride. And check out some of the other work too. And check out their website and to keep up to date with sequels and all kind of new amazing stuff that's coming up. All right, guys. Well, thank you for coming to the horror room. I'm Travis Bruce. I'll see you guys next time. Take care.